This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, EOF scholars. We're excited to have our guest speaker, who is also EOF alumna, as well as one of our tutors in the Instructional Support Center for writing and English. And I won't steal all of the thunder because I'll allow Devon to introduce himself and share, any information that he wants regarding his experience in the program and at the college. But super excited to host this skill development workshop today, time management and smart goal setting. And without further ado, Devon, I'll turn the floor over to you. And what I would ask is for our EOF scholars to be open their minds and be prepared to participate as Devon requests throughout the workshop. And I believe at the end, we'll have an assignment that you all will need to complete as we continue the session workshop on Thursday. And Devon, when we finish, you'll let me know what times work for you for our Thursday session follow up to the time management and SMART goal setting. So Devon, the floor is yours. And thank you so much for agreeing to present today.
I just want to say very quickly that Devon can also share with you the experience of being a work-study student in the library. So for those of you who are looking for a job in the fall here at the school, I am accepting applications for work-study, and Devon is kind of an expert on that too.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Tiffany. And yes, I was a work-study student at the library for about 3 years. I spent a little bit more time at Warren County, but I'm also a tutor at the ISC. I tutor the English comp classes, a couple of the English electives. I also do the introduction to technology and computing, principles of biology, just a couple things here and there as well. And I'm trying to figure out how to present my PowerPoint because I've not used GoToMeeting as a presenter before, so this might just take me a second.
We can see it on our end, Devon, just so you know.
I have the screen paused.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, can everybody see this? Okay, so today we'll be going over time management and SMART goal setting. So first, we're going to talk about how to use your time well. So we have these measurements. We have length, width, height, duration. We can tell, we know our height and all that stuff, but we don't have a very good judge of time and how well we use it. It usually isn't until like there's all these things trying to grab your attention and all these people. You have 40 assignments due and you realize halfway through the semester you're super behind. That's usually when you realize I may not have been managing my time very well. So to start, we're going to go over a little time management self-assessment. So for number one, do you estimate how many hours you will need to study each week. So actually I have a question for this one. How many hours do you guys think you need to study per credit hour per week? So if you have a 3-credit class, how many hours in a week do you think you need to study?
If
If
you
somebody
want,
wants to
Devon,
answer, you could just turn your mic on.
they can also put it in chat and I'll let you know.
14.
You say 14?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? For 3-credit class, how many hours a week do you think you need to study?
Come on, guys. Participation is part of the program.
Depends on how well I know the subject.
Let's say it's a subject that you kind of know, but not really.
Probably 8 hours then.
Okay, so you have 8 hours, 14 hours. Anybody else? Get one more guess?
For me, it depends on the class. I guess a couple hours, maybe, depending.
Okay, so for a lot of people, it depends on the class. Of course, if you are, an English major, you might not spend all that much time studying for your English classes, but on average, it's recommended that you study for 2 to 3 hours per credit hour. So that means you have a 3-credit class. It's recommended that you study for that would mean 6 to 9 hours per week per class. So if you have, if you're a full-time student, that really adds up. So another question to ask yourself, do you meet assignment deadlines? If you don't, why? What are the things in your life that are stopping you from meeting these deadlines? And what do you think you can do differently? Do you begin working on semester-long projects early in the semester? Why or why not? Do you write a daily to-do list? Do you prevent social activities from interfering with your study time? Do you have a job that requires fewer than 10 hours per week? Do you set specific goals for each study session? Do you begin your study time with your most difficult assignment? Do you complete most of your studying during your peak productive time? That peak productive time is something we'll get back to. And do you think of being a full-time student or part-time student as you would a full-time or part-time job? So these are questions to kind of keep in mind, to ask yourself if you are signing up for classes. If you have a job, you need to keep in mind how many hours you anticipate needing to study, how long that it's recommended that you should study, and this question number 10 of a full-time student, it's like having a full-time job. Having to 2 to 3 hours per credit hour of studying, it really adds up. And then here's some time management strategies. So one of the most basic ones is to just write a to-do list. It does not necessarily even need to be, take out a piece of notebook paper at the top that says to do. and, you know, XYZ. It can be on your phone. It can be on sticky notes all over your room. It doesn't necessarily have to be step by step. Another way of writing a to-do list is by getting a piece of paper and marking it with 4 sections and labeling the sections of how important it is to get those tasks done. So one section will be the absolute most important. You need to get this done. There's a deadline for it. It needs to get done no matter what. Next section will be, it's not as important, you know, the deadline might be a couple weeks away or you have more time to work on it. And then it gets just less and less, you know, urgent in the other sections. So it makes it easier to break down those assignments if you feel like, you know, you're being constantly bombarded with all of these things. It helps you actually be able to visualize and look at, okay, so that my top priority tasks, I only have 2 or 3 things to do right now. And the things that don't require my attention immediately, I can prioritize later. So that's another way to kind of break up what you have to do. Similarly, you can make a project board. A project board can be like writing out your month your calendar for the month, for the week, putting down goals for what you want to accomplish, putting down due dates for assignments. A lot of times professors will put the due dates for big assignments in the syllabus. Please read the syllabus. It is so helpful, it really is. And so you can put those on your project board to have a visual of what you need to get done. And then, oops. Yeah, this commit to doing tough tasks first. This when your energy level be at its highest and it creates a sense of accomplishment. You know, if you have something for a class that you know it's not your favorite, you always dread getting the homework done for it, or you know, you really don't want to get it done, do it first. If you have trouble motivating yourself to get it done, use the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule is, if it takes less than 2 minutes to start or to complete it, just do it. So if you need to study for, you know, a bio test, and studying for your bio test, you know, involves just opening your notebook and looking at your vocab or something like that. That takes less than 2 minutes. That's the first step. Just do that. Even if you don't get further, that's the first step. So that's the way that you can commit to doing the tough tasks first. And that's also the way that you can break down projects into smaller tasks. So if you have something that seems daunting, like you have to make a like giant presentation, a huge research paper, break it down into the smallest steps that you can. You know, it can even be, I know that I have to write an 8-page research paper in 1 month. If I write 50 words a day, I'll be able to get it done. Just whatever increments that you think you can break it down in to make it digestible for you, do what you need. If just like this thing is like looming and it seems impossible, how can you look at it in a way that seems doable? But same with consolidate similar tasks. Are there things that you can do? Are there other assignments that you can do within that, you know, class or within that same genre to help yourself without having to, dedicate your time in all these different areas. So I said we'd get back to that peak energy time. So it says study at your high energy time, set aside your most difficult tasks at your peak energy times, guard against interruptions, and don't do mindless tasks or socialize during your peak energy periods. I'm going to skip a slide really quick to a couple. Didn't think it was that far ahead. Okay, so this is an activity that I will have you guys do later. So when I talk about peak energy time, that is the time in the day that you are most focused, that you get things done, that you can concentrate, that you are good to go. For most people, that is typically in between 12 to 6. That's because our bodies work on this natural rhythm called circadian rhythm. It's when, the hormones in our brain aren't telling us to sleep. We're, rested, we're awake, we're energized, we're getting things done. Probably we're already eating lunch by then or dinner. So that's when you are at your most alert, you're most capable of focusing. And that's when you are likely able to be most productive, is within that 12 to 6 period. But again, that's different for everyone. Some people are, night owls. Some people are, if you're a morning person, you might find that it's easiest for you to get stuff done at 6 in the morning. I don't understand that, but if you can get your homework done at 6 a.m., you're an anomaly, but more power to you. So when you fill out this time use record, you are going to think about the activities that you would do in a day, and then you're going to write them down. This goes from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m. The one that you'll be sent, I believe, is a little bit different. I don't remember if it starts at 5 to, if it goes from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m. But it will have the same layout. And then you're going to, write down the activities that you do. If you see there is like a chunk of your day where you're doing nothing of, importance, and you think you can be doing something else, you can highlight that. Think about why during the hours of 10 to 12, 10 to noon, why you don't really focus on one task. Why don't you really, why don't you use that time for studying or something like that? And then look at that and say, okay, do I not study then because I'm not focused? Is it because I just don't want to? How else can I use that time? And then when you're filling this out, you can take a highlighter, you can just circle the times, whatever you want. And then I want you to think about what you believe your peak energy times are. When you feel most alert, when you can concentrate the best, when the times of the day when you, think that you can get the most done. If you're a morning person, it might be early in the morning. If you're a night person, it might be later at night. If you're a mix of both, it might be within that 12 to 6 period. But when do you think would be your optimal study time? It might be helpful to think about when you've had classes in the past. If you've had an 8 a.m. class and then you've just sat there the entire time thinking, like everything that just went in your brain for the past hour and a half one in one ear and out the other, because it's 8 in the morning, you're supposed to be asleep. Why am I here? Or if you do really well with morning classes, consider how you've performed during those times. Or if you've had a night class and you've just been falling asleep at your desk, think about that. Think about your performance during those times.
Devon, did you talk a little bit about time chunking? I know that Professor George wanted me to remind students that increments of 20 minutes is usually a good time range in terms of trying to manage your time.
Yes, I have a slide on that.
Oh, I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you get to it. But I just wanted to remind students also, when you're filling out that time management grid, that in addition to your study time, you need to probably factor in, if you're in a class and your professor is providing videos and notes, that you want to also include time that you're reviewing those notes and videos and your homework. So that way you're specific with what you're doing, and it could be kind of all at one time. You have the notes out with your homework assignment in addition to viewing the YouTube video of instruction. I know particularly for our students who are taking Professor Howie's pre-calc course, she has a video ranging anywhere from 18 minutes to 50 minutes, a full lecture for her class for each chapter. And so it's really important that you go in and you read the notes and watch the video, but you need to allocate time for that. For our students in the Psychology 101 course, I know that there's chapters, 3 chapters of homework that are due on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And many of you may have only done 1 of 6 assignments that are due tomorrow. And so I believe that there's no such thing as I don't have homework today, because in a accelerated summer session, you should have homework every day. You should be chipping away at your homework assignments each day, so that way on the final day that they're due, you're just checking the boxes. Did I complete, 1, 2, 3? You should maybe have 1 assignment remaining or 2 assignments remaining on that last due date. So everything that Devon is talking about right now in terms of managing your time, you need to be slotting and planning, when you're going to do what. So when that due date comes around and you reassess, what have you completed, you're able to say, yes, I've completed everything. And not just completed, but completed based on the directions that were given, uploaded the way the professor requested that they be uploaded. And if you're having a problem technology-wise or just understanding the assignment, getting out in front of planning time for a scheduled appointment with your professor. So that way you can block time with your professor, whether it's virtually or if your professor is going to be on campus. You want to be able to get in on those by appointment only professor office hours. Okay, and being able to use those office hours. Professors love questions and they are here to help, but they can't help you if they don't know you need help. All right, Devon, you can take it away again.
What Tiffany just said about having those videos accompanying some of the classwork, that's actually a perfect time to use a method like this. So this is called the Pomodoro technique. It is a method of studying that was invented, I believe, in the 1920s to break down your study time into smaller, more digestible chunks. So you're not just, sitting at your desk staring at, an open textbook for 2 hours and realizing that you didn't absorb any information. You schedule in breaks for yourself. So you actually are reminded to get up, stretch your legs, get a drink of water. So the way that it works is that you have a timer, whether you set it on your phone, you can use a website, you can Google the Pomodoro technique and you can find all types of websites. You can find extensions for your web browser that will actually time out your computer. It won't let you onto any of your sites for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can customize it. So you'd use a timer to break down your study time into a series of tasks or short periods. The traditional way is that you set the timer for 25 minutes, and then you would spend that time on one task. You're not having, things open for 3 different classes. You're not trying to, write stuff for your English paper while studying for psych. You're just focusing on one task. And once that 25 minutes is up, you're done. That's it for that study period. Put everything down, get up, go get some water, stretch, do whatever. That is not the time to study anymore. You're taking a 5-minute break. Take that break. So then after 2 or 4 Pomodoros, which that's the name for these 25-minute study sessions, then you then take a long break, which is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. It's kind of up to your discretion, however long that you feel that you need. And during these short sessions, you really want to avoid outside distractions. If you have a quiet place that you can study without, background noise, that's really helpful. If you can put your phone away, if you can, use a timer on your computer that will, time your screen out so you don't have to go on your phone, set a timer, get distracted. I find that helpful. Usually, if you find using music helps you study, that's okay, but you typically want to avoid stuff like that. But focusing on one task for 25 minutes, avoid distractions.
Devon, I posted a question to all of our EOF scholars in the chat. And the question is, what are some effective study techniques that have worked for you in the past? So we'd like some volunteers to share if you've had, aside from the Pomodoro technique that Devon just introduced, what are some techniques that have worked for you in the past that might be helpful to your peer scholars so that we can, have a good, repertoire of tools in our tool box so that we can use. So just unmute yourself or turn your camera on and just share what some of the techniques you've used in the past that have been effective. And conversely, if you've used something and it just did not work for you and you had to move on from that. So we're looking for volunteers to share.
I found that flashcards helped me a lot.
Okay, and that's Ellen, right?
Yes.
Flashcards. And so with flashcards, Ellen, are you handwriting them on index cards? Like, what's your technique with the flashcards? Are you using Cengage?
So when I was in high school, I would mostly use I think it was called Quizlet, and I would make flashcards on there, and I would just always study them, even because it was just so convenient because I would be able to have it on my phone too, like the app. So whenever I felt like I needed to study more, I would just open the app on my phone and start studying on my phone.
Okay, awesome. So the Quizlet app was super helpful for the flashcards. Thank you for sharing that. Who else has something that they'd like to share that was helpful as a study technique?
I try to find a video on the subject, like if I'm having a hard time understanding it, and usually they like reiterate it in a way where I can understand better, if that counts.
Oh, no, that totally counts. Are there any specific websites that you go to, or you just do a random search for the topic?
Just usually random. Sometimes I think it's Khan University has a lot of good stuff. CKH.
Yes. Yep, Devon just posted it in the chat, Khan Academy.
Yeah, that one.
Yep. That's an excellent additional resource. Anyone else care to share? Rose, I don't
I
know,
make
do you
study
have one?
guides.
Sarah, I'm sorry, I disrupted you. Go ahead.
I just make study guides on like Google Docs of like the like topics that's going to be on the test.
Okay, so you make your own study guide. Okay. And I was going to say, Rose, can you share some of the resources that you may have on the ISC website that would be additional resources for students?
Sure. You want me to share my screen?
Well, maybe
Is
at the
it-
end of the presentation, we'll come back to you so that way we can make you the presenter and you can show students where you might have additional resources on the ISC website, if that's helpful, so we can
Sure.
keep the flow going. Sounds
I
good?
would, yep. I would also like to interject the oftentimes at the end of each chapter in your textbook, they'll have a review section. Read that information over. Like I often used those questions on my quizzes and tests when I've taught. So, you know, it's just the more you're exposed to that information, the better off you are in learning it. And hopefully we'll recall it to, yeah, because it's likely that you will see that information asked on a midterm or a final exam.
Perfect. And Gregory, you just emailed me. I believe you have to unmute yourself on your phone if you want us to hear you.
Hello?
Go ahead. You can. Yeah. Hi. There you go. Now we can
Oh.
hear you.
Because I unmuted multiple times and it just wasn't going through.
Okay.
But, what is the strategy I use? It would be like every time I look at my phone, I would just go straight into my notes or like, because I would take pictures of like the stuff I would have to study. And every time I go into my phone, I would just look at it for like 5 minutes every single time.
All right. So you're a visual learner. You need those pictures to be a reminder in addition to the just constant review. So that's definitely a nice technique. And that's something that you can also go back to over and over again because it's on your phone. And Devon, did you want to talk a little bit about Crash Course and TED and audio stories, because you posted those in the chat, just so students will know what that is?
So the first one that I posted is called Crash Course. So they have a bunch of different videos. I've watched I believe they are Crash Course, and then it'll have the subject name. So it'll be Crash Course Philosophy, Crash Course Science. They're very good videos. They're often animated. They have little animations that go along with them. They'll be usually less than 20 minutes long, and will talk about anything from like, did Ben Franklin actually do everything that he said he did, or something like that, to what is quantum physics. You know, it has everything that you could possibly want, really, and they're constantly making new videos. My only complaint with them is that they're kind of fast. The narrators do talk fast, but on YouTube you can slow down the you know, how fast it plays. You can turn it down to like 0.25 speed. So if you want it really slow, you can have it really slow. But if you just turn it down to 0.75, I find it much more easily understood. Then the next one on that list is TED. So there's multiple different kinds of, you know, TED Talks that come from the that company. There's like TED educational talks that will be given by masters in whatever field they are discussing. There's ones specifically geared toward students. There's one specifically geared toward kids. Those are plentiful on YouTube. There's even ones, I believe they have short examples of, you know, full-length videos on Instagram. So if you have them on Instagram, you can, you know, see on their page, like, here's a excerpt from this video on this sociological phenomenon. And if you see this 30-second preview, you might be interested to watch the whole video. And then the last one is, I just said audio stories. And since I, you know, am tutoring, I tutor the English comp classes, one of the biggest problems students often have is they don't think that they have time to read short stories. Sometimes they don't, when they, you know, if they procrastinate or if they have a lot going on. Most likely you can find narrations of the short stories online on YouTube, especially because they're older stories. They are free use. If it's something like Edgar Allan Poe, there's almost certainly a narrated story on YouTube. So you can hear somebody read it out loud to you. That's especially helpful if you are a auditory learner. If you learn better hearing it out loud, you can hear it, you can follow along. That will help you get it out of the way. If you can multitask, if you want to listen to it while you're doing chores, that's how you can get that done while, you know, getting other things out of the way. And I'm not very familiar with Cengage, but I believe the textbooks have an option, have a text-to-speech option. Can anybody confirm that? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. So if you prefer to have things read out loud to you, you can have that. That's also a way of, you know, if you're dreading something and you don't really want to do it, that's an easy way to, you know, use a 2-minute rule. It's not going to take you any time, just hit play. So those are some of the, that's some other strategies. That's what I mentioned in the chat. Okay. Some additional tips will be plan your day. So that could be writing out a to-do list. It could be, you know, using a calendar app on your phone. It could be using a planner. Does Warren County still give planners? No? Okay. It could be learning how to say no if you feel like you're being pulled into a bunch of different directions and a lot of people are demanding your attention.
And
But you know
Devin,
you need time to
can we
study.
just pause there on learning to say no for a moment? Because I know our students have so many other responsibilities outside of school. And so type in the chat, scholars, if you have additional responsibilities outside of school. Just type yes in the chat. Okay, see 2 yeses so far.
Yes.
Yep. So type in the chat yes, and you can actually verbally say yes if you're unable to type in the chat if you're on the call.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And now type in the chat or say yes if you are also working part-time or full-time.
Yes.
Yes. Yes again. Okay. Now type in the chat yes if you are, your parents require you to, you know, help out around the house, clean up, you know, do some of the cooking, running around after your younger siblings. If
Yes.
you have to help out around the house.
Mhm.
So a lot of you were saying yes to that as well. What I want you to do, well, let's step back. How many of your family members, they all know that you're in college? And I think this goes back, Devin, to your time management grid. So we're going to have an assignment. And what part of that assignment is, I think, having a family meeting, right? So that your family and everyone who wants you to be successful in college understands how much work you really need to put forth in order to be successful in college. Because I think, you know, they're like, oh, run and pick up your sister. Oh, you know, clean the kitchen. Oh, cook dinner. All of this on top of school, on top of your part-time job, on top of some me time that you need in order for you to just stay sane and grounded in college. I think sometimes it makes delegating or saying no easier when your family and your friends understand and recognize how much work you need to put forth so that you can complete your degree in criminal justice or complete your degree in nursing or science, whatever it is that you are pursuing. They need to all be partners so that you can be successful in achieving your goals. But if they don't know kind of what time constraints you have in terms of the courses that you're taking and what you need to do, it makes it more difficult for them to even understand when you say no to things. All right. So I think that helping your loved ones and family and friends understand why you're saying no, because it's not because I don't want to do it. It's because if you want me to be successful, I need to get my homework done. I need to watch these videos. I need to study my notes. I need to participate in this study group. I need to get my assignments posted before 11:55 if I'm taking an online class. Otherwise, it's going to be late and I'm going to receive a 0. Okay. So some of those discussions are more difficult to have than others, but that is why you would then be able to have conversations with, you know, your advisors or the EOF staff to help you figure out how to go about those conversations and such too. Now, Devin, this is the perfect segue into your next one, stop multitasking. So tell us what you mean by that.
You stop multitasking. So I would say that there are different types of multitasking. Ones that you think, you know, that you can do. You think you can kind of like have Netflix playing in the background while you're trying to study, and you really, are you really able to divide your attention that well? Do you really think you can focus on both of those at once, or divide, or pay, you know, enough attention to what you're studying? I think you need to kind of like actually pay attention to how much you are able to dedicate to the task at hand, and like ask yourself, what is my priority, and what is something that can be put aside, or using that Pomodoro technique if you want to do something, like watch a YouTube video, something like that, that's not necessarily going to help you, do that during that 5 or 10-minute break. Spend that 25 minutes studying, focusing on one thing, take a short break, do something for yourself. Because humans are really not that good at multitasking. We're just not. Your attention is always going to be, it's never going to be 50-50. It's always going to be, a majority on one thing, and chances are it's not going to be the most important one. So that relates to this next one, do one task at a time. So if you need to get a larger project done, that's when you break the assignment down into measurable tasks. You can make a checklist, say, for starting a project, you can start by making flashcards. You can do that, check it off. And during those study sessions, make that your only priority, make that the one task you're focusing on, instead of trying to look at it all at once, having everything splayed out in front of you, and overwhelming yourself by thinking there's so much to do. I don't know how I'm not supposed to get time to do all of this. It's the same feeling of if a professor tells you, you have this project due at midterms, and if this were spring or fall, and you had a couple months to do a project, but you put it off until the day before because you just think it's this huge thing that you don't have time to do. Or since your summer classes are so, pushed together, you might think that it's like so much, and there's all this, it's so much, so you can't do it all, so you're just going to do what you can. But breaking it up might make it easier to look at it and say, okay, this is easier than I thought it would be. I'm able to get more done than I thought I could.
So Devon, let's ask the scholars the question: has anyone found themselves in that position where you've not given yourself enough time to complete an assignment or something that you needed to get done by a certain date? If you're willing to share, and I think what's important is kind of how it makes you feel. What are the emotions that you're feeling when you allow yourself to kind of get up to that point and you're like, wow, now, time is running out. What am I going to do?
I often wait to the
sorry, you can go.
I often wait till the last minute to complete an assignment. Like, say I have a week to do it. Like, say it's due Thursday. I'll be like, all right, I'll look at it Wednesday, and I'll be like, all right, I have enough time. I'll just push it till Thursday. Like, I'll keep pushing it back, like, further and further until there's like an hour or whatever left, and then I'll be like, damn, I should have really started this earlier. Like, it wouldn't be hard, but I want to give myself enough time. And I know this, but I will continue to always do it. But I always find a way to finish it, and like the grade, it'll be decent. So I'm like, okay.
But as an EOF scholar, are you looking for decent grades, or you're looking for excellent grades? So that way, with excellent grades, you open up doors for scholarships, for recognition, and different things. So I think that ultimately you want to position yourself for academic excellence and try and, you know, move away from just settling for decent. What do you think?
Yeah, before it was more, it's just, I just want to get the assignment done so I don't have to think about it. So I think it was just more of that. But now that like I'm trying to transfer and go into a 4-year, I'm like, all right, I actually have to apply myself and do the work.
Perfect, perfect. It sounds like that's some maturity talking. And Sarah, you were going to share? Sarah, you can unmute yourself and share your example. All right, perhaps Sarah stepped away. Amanda, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I always wait till last minute. I probably shouldn't, but I've done that quite a few times. But I always usually get my assignments done though, but I rush through it.
And so does that make you feel overwhelmed? Do you have anxiety?
A
How
little bit.
are you feeling? What are the emotions?
I mean, yeah, I guess anxiety is probably most of it, but I don't sleep usually that night to make sure it gets done. And yeah.
Can I
And
ask
I
you a
think we could
question?
probably all raise our hand and say that we've been there at least once or twice, maybe 3 times. But I think it being a consistent strategy is probably not the most effective time management tool, because you're always overwhelmed, you're always stressed out, you're always, you know, losing sleep, or, you know, feeling a little irritable because you have this artificial pressure, is what I'll call it, that you've created for yourself because you waited till the last minute to get things done, right? When you've had, like you said, your professor has given you ample time to get it done, only you've allowed yourself to put it off, procrastinate, put other things as a priority, and then you rush to get it done. So I think knowing that we're not alone in this kind of makes you feel better, but knowing that we all likely need to do better on that front.
So Tiffany, bouncing off what you just said about, you know, creating this artificial pressure for yourself, I wanted to ask another question. Does anybody put off doing these assignments because they think they work better under pressure?
Interesting.
Yeah, I probably do. I think I'm more motivated to get it done because I know I have like a time limit to meet, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyone else feel like they work better under pressure? Their best work is done under pressure?
In hindsight, yes, but at that moment, I don't intentionally put it off. It's a symptom of ADHD. A lot of people with ADHD do this, where they just kind of procrastinate it, not intentionally, their attention is elsewhere. So I often like either A, I'll panic at the beginning, saying I will never give myself enough time if I don't finish it right now, and basically switch the deadline from, let's say, a week from now to today. Or I will completely forget, it'll be out of my mind unless I put like sticky notes everywhere, and then I'm doing it the night before. I actually, one of the first things that I did for this pre-calc class was I literally just finished the homework today that's due tomorrow, but it's like an entire chapter. But this is probably one of the first times that I've actually finished it without that same day, so I can actually relax. It's actually very invigorating.
And you know what? You just hit the nail on the head in terms of creating that relaxation, creating that space where you feel accomplished, right? And you're not worried about tomorrow because it's already done, and you can, you can even start prepping for the next week in advance, so that way you're giving yourself enough time to get things done in terms of planning for your next week's worth of work. But it sounds, I can't see you, Bailey, but it sounds by the tone of your voice that you are very happy that that assignment is behind you, and you can have that breathing room.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know, I actually am very much ready to start in the next chapter, which is very ironic because usually I'm very drained at the end of doing it
Mm-hmm.
because I cram it all.
Right, and you're using very, I think, relevant description words, because often when you stress yourself out, you put yourself under this artificial pressure, you do feel drained, you do feel stressed, you do feel, worried, and like you're not going to be at your best just to get it done. But when you're out in front of the deadline, you feel all of the opposite. All of the things that, kind of lead you to this space where you can give yourself a pat on the back and say, job well done. Let's see if I can do this again.
I agree completely. I think one of the things that gets stuck in your head is that either A, I can break this out over time, or B, I can be incredibly efficient and cram it all in one place. But you
Hmm.
kind of have to get out of that mindset in order to get it done. I'm sorry to take away from the presentation so long.
No, this is all good stuff. Thank you for responding to Devon's question. Go ahead, Devon.
Thank you for that insight, Bailey. So why I asked that question is because that's something I only recently kind of thought about myself, is why, I put off things until the last minute, and kind of how to, stop doing that, basically. And some strategies that I've been using are trying to, break down assignments that I would put off, schedule them into my week, and setting up a type of kind of reward system. So I know that if I finish an assignment that I'm dreading, if I finish writing um, three articles for work, something like that, and I knew that was something I was going to put off until the absolute last minute, but I got it done early. I, did it. When I knew that this was a fault that I have done in the past, I will then say, okay, I did it, so I'm then going to do something good for myself. I'm going to then, I'm going to set up a reward for myself. So you get that kind of, that good feeling you have after, feeling like you crammed for something and you get it done. You have that, like, that feeling of finally, that relief. It's still that you get that same kind of, that's like that dopamine rush. So that's a way that I found for myself that has helped me not just wait for that last minute, get all nervous and then get that relief. Because that's something that I've noticed even myself recently. And Lisa suggests eating pickle chips afterwards. Sure.
Talk about a reward, man. Some people go for that sweet stuff. No, I'm all about that salty stuff. And pickle chips are my new favorite thing.
Are you talking about pickle flavored potato chips, or?
Yep. No, not the actual pickle chips like you put on your hamburger, but the actual chips that are flavored like dill pickle.
I'm gonna be honest, if somebody fed me that after I did an assignment, I wouldn't do another one again.
And By the way, I should say not all of your rewards should be food-based because that's setting up a bad habit as well. I blame Barbara. She started that one.
Thanks, Lisa.
It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, buying yourself a bag of pickle chips. You can, you know, go on a run with your dog, go on a hike, do something that you wouldn't have time for because you had been procrastinating doing things that week and doing things that you didn't really have time for.
I would add too, as an additional tip, a buddy system is a great way to hold yourself accountable and someone else that might be in your class that you may have a connection with. So that way, you know, you're able to say, hey, you know, if you get stuck somewhere, you have someone you can ask questions to, number one. But B, you know, once you both, you know, complete the assignment, then you have somebody that maybe you'll, you know, go and catch a movie with or take a walk or, you know, have some pickle chips with.
Eat some pickle chips, definitely.
But certainly having a buddy system or a study buddy or study group helps to keep everyone accountable and you're all, you know, achieving success together. So that's something that you can look at if you're in need of having kind of more of a collaborative relationship as opposed to doing it all by yourself.
Okay. What time are we going to?
How many more slides do you have?
I have a couple.
Okay, we'll go until you're done. We have time. We have time. We're scheduled till 2:30, so it's only 1:41.
Okay. I'm just going to take a moment. Okay. Okay, can everybody see the slide now? Okay, so the second part of this presentation we'll finally get to is SMART goals. SMART is an acronym standing for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So when you're setting up a SMART goal, you want to make sure that they fulfill these specifications. When you're making a goal, you don't want it to be super vague or unachievable, super, like it shouldn't be something as nebulous as just pass all my classes. That's a good goal, but how can you make that more specific? How can you, you know, think of that as, you know, take your individual classes. What goals can you make for those classes? It's good that you want to pass your classes, but what specifically can you do in them to pass? What are goals that you can meet to get good grades in your classes? Okay, so some questions to ask yourself when you're creating SMART goals, starting with the S for specific. What do I want to accomplish? So can I get an example of something that somebody's going over in class right now or an assignment you have coming up?
I mean, we have our homework due tomorrow in calculus or pre-calc.
Do you have tests in pre-calc?
I believe there's a midterm. I'd have to check the syllabus real quick.
Okay. So let's just take Bailey's pre-calc class for an example. to set up specific goals, you think, what do I want to accomplish? Let's say for the midterm, what do I want to accomplish? Is it a specific grade that I want? Is there specific knowledge that I want to get out of this? Am I just looking to pass it, or do I want to remember this information? Do I want to commit to it? Thank you. And then think about why that goal is important. Is it important to just because you want to pass? Is it important because you like the class and you want to do well in it? You want to, pursue that field? Who is involved? Where is it located? Which resources or limits are involved? So this resources. So if you're talking about studying for a class, studying for a test, anything like that, a resource you have is the tutoring center at the college. Which Rose, have you gone over that with students yet?
Sorry, I was muted. Not yet. After your presentation, I believe I'll have the ability to share my screen. Well, actually, come to think of it, the day, that orientation day, I did kind of show them where it was, but I'll show them again. The resource hub.
Number 2, for questions ask yourself when creating SMART goals, for M, measurable. So how much, how many, how will I know when it is accomplished? So this making a measurable goal is important because you want to be able to know when you have accomplished it. If you have one of those ambivalent goals, like, do well in all of my classes, there's not necessarily a benchmark that you meet and I did it, because it's ongoing. Your classes are ongoing until you graduate. So it doesn't necessarily give you the same sense of, accomplishment that setting something specific would. So achievable. How would I accomplish this goal? How realistic is the goal based on other constraints, such as financial factors? So when you're setting this goal, keep in mind your time, your when you have the most energy during the day. If you can dedicate that energy to studying, to your class, if you have other factors in your life like work, people who depend on you, other things like that, how will your goals work within those? Relevant. Does this seem worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does this match our other efforts or needs? Am I the right person to reach this goal? Is it applicable in the current socioeconomical environment? So when you're thinking about if your goal is relevant, I think that goes kind of hand in hand with it being specific. You want to have a specific goal that is relevant to you. Because when you are setting your goal, it should have to do with your time as a EOF student. It should consider if you are transferring, what school you want to transfer to, stuff like that. Time abound. Oops. When? What can I do 6 months from now? What can I do 6 weeks from now? What can I do today? So this is another thing that would, it would help to know deadlines for And Bailey said that the July 28th is the midterm. So knowing that July 28th is the midterm, that's when you can, you know, make these SMART goals that are time bound and kind of set these specific goals within time frames. You know, having something set up for every couple days, what goal do you want to meet? So you know, I have this much time to do it. This is what will be done by then. It's achievable. This is how it's relevant to me, and it's specific. So these SMART goals are just like the broad overview of how to make a goal that you can stick to and that you will feel good about achieving, because it is something that you know it is done when you have finished it, and you will feel like good about completing it. You are setting these goals for yourself. Here's an example of setting goals. You can set 3 goals for yourself this semester and stick with them. Remember, be specific and make sure that your goal is measurable. And this is an example of a goal. And here's a format that you can use of what. The question is, what is it that you want to accomplish? You have earn a college degree. How? Question is, how are you going to do it? And then we have complete WCCC and EOF applications, apply for financial aid, meet an advisor, and register for classes, show up, participate, and graduate. These are all steps in this goal that you can check off. Like, you know, you've completed the applications, submitted them, that's done. There's no ambiguity about it, that's done. You can cross it off the list. Apply for financial aid, you can get that done. Once you met with an advisor, you got that done. So this is what it's meant by setting these specific, goalposts to meet. And when, this is that time bound part. So when will it be accomplished? What is your deadline? If you don't have, dates in your syllabus for assignment due dates, something like that, you can ask your professor, or you can, try and evaluate where you're at in the semester and, the pattern of when things are coming up. If a professor says that assignment's due by the end of the year, but they don't have a specific date, you can kind of just anticipate what you should do before that point.
Devon, if I could just interrupt you for a moment. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that these dates that you see listed on this particular slide, they aren't actual. So whatever financial aid deadlines and whatnot that Jackie has expressed to you, please pay attention to those. These are just arbitrary for sake of example for this purpose of this slide. Sorry, go ahead.
Creating these SMART goals will help you clarify your ideas. And it will often actually help you understand what it is you want to accomplish. It will help you focus your efforts. It will, if you don't know exactly, if you know what your goal is, but you don't know exactly how to accomplish it, it might help you figure out the steps that you need to take. Use your time and resources productively. Increase your chances of achieving what you want in life, because you're breaking those steps down into things that are more manageable. So instead of just having that goal of get your college degree, you have these actionable steps of meet with an advisor, complete applications, and you know what you're supposed to do, rather than this just goal that is, you know, this huge thing that's going to take forever, and nobody taught me how to do this, I don't know what I'm doing. You have these checkpoints to get through. And depending on how many steps there is, how big the goal is, you will need to kind of take a look at it and adjust things. Nothing's ever set in stone. You can always, you know, look back through these and adjust them to how you need them. You know, everything is kind of going to be in flux. So does anybody have any questions?
Devon, I would just ask the question, when you've created your SMART goals, what suggestions or advice would you have when students fall short and you may not completely achieve your goal?
If you create a goal and you realize you don't, you don't meet it, you don't, you know, you don't live up to it, don't beat yourself up. You know, just like getting mad at yourself and thinking, you know, why wasn't I able to do this? Other people have done it, whatever. Having that kind of attitude really is not going to help. For me, I know it's first instinct, but everybody has these moments. Everybody is going to fail, and you know, it takes a lot of trial and error. That's why these goals can be adjusted. That's why that they need periodic evaluation and adjustments. So if you don't meet, you know, these checkpoints, if you don't meet these things that you want to get done, just take a step back and say, okay, I didn't get it done. What can I do to help myself further along, rather than, you know, just getting mad that you couldn't do it? Just accept that, okay, I missed something, or I didn't do as well as I thought I would. So what? I can try again.
I love that. Very, very good advice. I think very reasonable and sound advice for students, because, you know, sometimes things happen that cause you to fall short, but certainly you can pick yourself up, reassess, reframe, and move forward. So great advice, Devon. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about setting goals? And if not, then Devon, do you have a formal assignment for them to complete for Thursday's discussion?
Yes, the time use record.
Okay, let's talk about that. Make sure everybody's clear about what the expectation is, and then we're going to circle back to all of the things that we've learned about within this session and have a working session on Thursday with Devon and all of the scholars to go over the assignments.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody see this? Okay. So this was previewed on a slide earlier that I was talking about when discussing the, you know, your peak energy times. So this is a time use record. This goes over 24 hours in a day. Because my copy is in Google Docs when it was originally made in Microsoft Word. I think the formatting got a little bit messed up. It should have lines. I think it will on the Microsoft Word document, but there will be lines right after this 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And what you will do is for the hours of the day, you are going to list what it is that you do. So if it is a, a school day, you can, on a day where you have your class, think about how you use your time. What time do you wake up? What do you do after you wake up? What time is your class? What do you do before class? What do you do after? And lay out all the stuff that you do. Be honest. If you spend, between 2 to 4 watching TikTok videos, write it down. If that's what you do, it's fine. Just write it down. And then I do want you to highlight what you think your peak energy hours are. So when you think you concentrate the best, when you can focus the best on something. And what we'll do is we will look at these and think about how you can best manage your time. If you think you're managing your time well, what you think you could do better, what adjustments that you think you can make in this 24-hour time period.
And then so that is your assignment for Thursday. So we'll pick up this discussion, and please, each EOF scholar, be prepared to share your time management grid and go over it. And we're going to have a discussion and hopefully, share in a way that might help someone else and get feedback that may help you.
I'm going to email everybody the Word file for this so that y'all can fill it out. And I want you to email it back to Tiffany, myself, when you're done so that we know that you've done it. Again, we're not going to go over till Thursday. So you don't have to turn it in until Thursday morning. But that way, when you're ready to go over it, we can go ahead and bring your particular record up so that you can go over it with everybody.
Yeah, Lisa, we may put it like in a slide deck or something, so that way one by one we can bring each one up so they can talk about it. And also, we talked about SMART goals. Think about, I believe, for both the pre-calculus class as well as the psychology class, your goals should all be to complete your homework assignments or whatever assignments you have on time and have them uploaded or whatever the process is for your class on Wednesday. So, I mean, that is a clear goal, but you need to likely go through the acronym that Devon laid out in terms of the SMART goals and make sure that between today and tomorrow, 11:55, that you're actually, giving yourself something that's, measurable, attainable, so that way you can actually achieve getting all of your homework done. The first week sets the tone for the following 4 to come, and everyone starts out with an A. Remember that, because you determine what your final grade is based on your output and your effort and how much work you get done and the grades that you achieve. So your final grade is just a reflection of your effort during the course of the class. So is everyone clear about your goals for this week? Please type in the chat. My goal is to complete my homework on Wednesday. Type that in the chat, because I think you have to be vested in this And just by typing it in lets me know that you're on board. And if you can't type it in the chat, just unmute yourself and share with us.
My goal is to complete my homework on time and not procrastinate.
And when is on time? When is on time, Rashe? That's Rashe, right?
Yes.
Okay, when is on time?
Is before, what is it, 11:55?
11:55 on what day?
Thursday?
No, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday. I was just making sure
Wednesday.
you was on point. I was
Oh,
making sure
you
you
were
was
testing me.
Nah.
All right. Well, I passed the
word.
test.
I'll check you first.
Okay.
Gotta make sure
Okay.
you on point.
Thank you, Alex, for posting homework tomorrow. So we have a few more people that need to post in the chat that you're going to get your homework done on time tomorrow before 11:55.
Also, I just sent an email to all of you with that time use record that you need to email back to Tiffany or myself by Thursday at 9:30 a.m. so that we have it ready, and you need to have your SMART goal ready to share by Thursday as well. You don't have to email that to us if you don't want to, but the other one I want you to email back to us so that we can put it in a slide deck so everybody can go over their times.
Actually,
I
Lisa,
didn't
just
I didn't receive an email.
Yeah.
I just sent it. You guys didn't get it? I gotta double check your
Nope.
emails. All right, Greg and Rashe, put your email addresses into the chat. Oh, you can't, can you?
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Email me with the email address you're using at lstoll
Oh
at
yeah. It's
warren.edu.
what?
LSTOLL at warren.edu. Email me so that I can double check your email addresses because I'm going based on what you guys submitted on your applications.
okay.
Is LSTOLL?
I have a question real quick.
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sarah, with your question.
The email, I just want to make sure it's the right one. It's the time use record.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And Sarah, did you type in the chat what your goal is for Wednesday? Or you can say it out loud if you don't want to type it.
Well, Sarah's in the math class, so she doesn't have the same requirements there.
No, they do have
Oh, I
homework
can say it out
assignments due
loud.
on Wednesday. Everybody has homework due on Wednesday.
Yeah, my goal for Wednesday is to meet with Professor Howie and to review some of my some of the questions that I had on the homework and go over them just so that I have it right for me to turn them in.
Awesome. That's an excellent goal. And you're using your office hours with your professor. There's no better resource on this campus than your professor. So awesome. I applaud you for making that effort. And Professor Howie is phenomenal. Are you meeting with her in her academic office right next door to academics?
I'm meeting with her through like a go-to meeting. I still have to email her about it.
Okay, yeah. So email her so she can set up the go-to meeting for you, and it'll be just like this, and she'll be able to assist you. Fantastic.
Hey, could you repeat the email you want us to send our email to?
L
Oh.
S
Yeah.
T
Mm-hmm.
O
Mm-hmm.
L L
Mm-hmm.
at
Yeah.
warren.edu.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, without further ado, if everyone can unmute themselves and give Devon a little round of applause. Unmute and give him a round of applause. Unmute. Thank you, Devon, so much for a fantastic presentation. Hopefully Lisa will be able to transpose this into an amazing YouTube video so that we will have this to share and post so that people can go back and review. And if you have any questions about the assignment, please don't hesitate to ask.
I have one question.
Yes.
Is it 2 documents we have to fill out, or is it just the time use record?
You're going to do the time use record. And Lisa, you had mentioned something about the goal setting for the goal setting.
Well, you said that everybody need to have a SMART goal for Thursday, correct?
Well, the SMART goal,
the SMART goal was for Wednesday.
SMART goal is to get your homework done by Wednesday. That's your
Gotcha.
SMART goal for this week.
Gotcha.
And maybe when we review the time management sheets, we can, every week we can establish a new SMART goal so that everyone stays on task.
That would be good.
Yes, yes. All right. And Lisa, you can stop recording. And tomorrow, scholars, we will see you back